So can somebody give a brief, one of you give me a brief description about what the project was, or what the intervention was about?
Yeah, we're going to decide who should
I know.
jump in here.
You jump in. You guys jump in first.
Ellen, you want to set the backdrop, or you want to start?
Sure. Joan, will you guide us? And if I'm talking too long?
Absolutely will, and I'll wave at you on anything else.
So how much detail do you want? Just a real quick, short synopsis?
Let's do just an overview, a few sentences if you can.
Sure. In 2009, Fifth Third Bank approached the Weatherhead School of Management at Case Western Reserve University with a need. And the need was for help in developing the top 300 leaders in the organization, in particular in preparing them for transformation of their culture. And one of the things that was particularly of interest for them and the skills that they were hoping to develop with those executives was all around emotional intelligence. Those of us at the Weatherhead School who were involved spent some time with the CEO and other members of the C-suite of Fifth Third, really immersing ourselves in their business, becoming students of their business to better understand what that need was, what it looked like, and then what we could design as a response. And what happened in the design process afterwards included a couple of components. One was a 2-day emotional intelligence program that provided individuals with an understanding of emotional intelligence. Another component was 360-degree feedback on their emotional intelligence capabilities so they could become more aware of how they show up in their interactions with others. And a third was executive coaching, which was provided as a support for those individuals to help them on their journey of change.
How many people were in the company were covered by this project?
This is our top operational strategic leaders, so it's our top 300. We have around 22,000 employees in the company.
And Loris, can you tell us a little bit about what the impetus was for the bank to come forward and look for this from the Weatherhead School?
Yes. We've been running talent management programs for the bank for around 6 or 7 years, and we noticed a trend that the competencies that our strategic and operational leaders really needed development in were in those emotional intelligent competencies. And so it wasn't enough that they had integrity and that they were technically functionally competent and good values and things, but what they really needed is they needed the self-awareness and the self-management. We also developed a new one bank strategy, and our operating model is an expensive model from a talent perspective because we have 16 affiliates with around 10 executives in each one of those affiliates. So it takes a lot of talent to fuel how we do our business. And we needed to grow that pipeline, and we needed to grow that pipeline with leaders who really understood the customers, employee engagement, and how to get things done through relationships.
Just so we get a little context, if I'm understanding this right, this was not only about teaching and training the current leadership team, but creating something that would last down line, developing leaders as they were coming up.
Yeah, we started on with the top 300 leaders because we really did believe that they needed to model the way for the organization. Now what we've done since then is that we've done coaching forums, we've done coaching webinars, we've done a 90-minute webinar that's gone out to all of our associates on our learning system. And also we have a regional leadership experience group that's out in the affiliates, and they're the 200 or 300 high potentials, high performers, and we've been taking them through emotional intelligence development. Not quite to the extent that involves the 6 hours of coaching our leaders get, but at least something that really whets their appetite and starts building on their foundation of their emotional competencies.
And something else that we're doing, we're working with Fifth Third, and we've developed a second program. We had this first 2-day program to expose them to these concepts and to allow them to be coached, etc. The second program is actually a program designed to help them become better coaches within the organization themselves. So again, that's going to help further cascade these things throughout the organization, because we're going to give them the skills and the experiences and the opportunities to practice the coaching practice and techniques that we've been teaching them along the way as well.
And what kind of research are you doing along with this? I assume there must be a component.
Mm-hmm. Ellen, you want to speak to that?
Sure. We started with the implementation of the program and the coaching, and we're now at the point where we're about to begin the research phase. And that research phase will include collecting survey data from those 300 people around their experience in working with a coach and the quality of the coaching relationship as they perceived it. It'll tap into their degree of emotional intelligence and how they feel it connects with certain outcomes, including job performance, work engagement, career satisfaction, and personal vision. And there'll be a triangulation of different sets of data, including their 360-degree feedback with that survey. So the research will extend over the next several months, and we would hope to have some results to share by summer of 2012. Mm-hmm.
What kinds of, I don't know if you can answer this, but what kinds of competencies are the most important for the coaches that you use in a project like this?
I would say if you look at the emotional intelligence model, think about the quadrants. Social awareness is probably the most important quadrant, and empathy in particular within that, and having an ability to genuinely and authentically understand that person that's being coached and connect with them on a meaningful basis. But then also self-awareness and understanding your own emotions as a coach, and and being able to kind of make sure that you're not projecting some of your own things onto that person you're coaching, et cetera. So both social awareness in terms of being able to understand the person you're coaching, as well as an ability to kind of understand yourself and effectively manage yourself as a coach as well, we find is important.
And I've been surprised from a program design standpoint is that I came into this just loving all of the work of Richard and Daniel Goleman's work around emotional intelligence, knowing that emotional intelligence would really resonate with all of these leaders. But what's really come to pass has been the impact that the coaching has had as a result of it. That's really sort of surprised me, because we made it, I thought we did a great job partnering with CASE, because what happened is that they come back and they really work with the coaches on their personal vision, and it's very confidential. And so we don't see any of the 360 feedback. The CASE coaches do all of that. They spend 2-hour sessions with them, and then we have a really nice handoff to our internal coaches where we spend the time on the learning agenda following Richard's intentional change theory model. And so it's a nice complement. They really get to have very nice ideal self conversations with their coaches at Case Western, and then when they come back to us, we help them apply it in the environment that they're in right now.
So what kinds of competencies do your internal coaches need to have?
Very much. We sent our internal coaches up for a certification process up at Case Western to make sure that they were strategically aligned. And most of the coaches that we have, we're only talking about 4 coaches, or 5 including myself. They have both years of business acumen, and several of them came from private coaching companies and are now working for the bank. What's nice about it is that they can use the culture integration, what's going on at the bank, and apply all of that in the strategic decision making with everything that CASE sets the foundation with.
And I would say that one of the things about our coaching approach, that coaching with compassion approach that we do utilize, makes the emotional intelligence competencies just so key for coaches, because the coaching relationship itself is so vital in being able to bring about the effective results you're looking for. So it's not just about having political savvy or content knowledge of the industry and things of that nature that becomes so important. It's more important that you have these emotional intelligence competencies so that you can connect, as I said, in a meaningful way with that person you're coaching and really build that quality relationship.
And it sounds like you've designed this and run it on a model that's going to replicate going down through the bank, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yes.
So that you're teaching their coaches how to coach the next level, and your managers will be learning a coaching model of management, I would say.
Yeah, because we really want to set an entire culture of development. We've always had a coach of a development process for performance, but this is really developing the culture. It will be transformational. The things that we're seeing out of our leaders right now are more qualitative than quantitative, although we have had much better earnings and better employee engagement scores and better customer service scores. So in the large picture, we're starting to see the results. But I can't wait for Ellen to help us with all of our measurement, because I really think it's just going to be transformational for the bank.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the next level of this will be? What's the next step?
Well, what's most imminent is the implementation of kind of phase 2 of the programming, which will be happening just in a couple months, so late 2011, when we begin to educate all these managers on how to coach others. And the model that it's based on is Richard Boyatzis' intentional change theory. So for this to be truly transformational, we are operating at a couple different levels. The first level was helping the individual leaders to transform themselves. And now we're going to be equipping them with the tools and the knowledge to then help others transform themselves, and in turn then the organization. So this really is an organization development intervention, but the way that we are coming at it is holistically, with each individual, one by one, working with them on their own individual vision, their own individual kind of journey in their work at Fifth Third Bank. But then when you roll all that up together, what you have is a very powerful catalyst for change at the organization level. So that's where it's getting really exciting, as we're starting to see some of those results come to life.
Right. And I think Loris has already started talking to us about, okay, what's next after this part 2. So we really look at this not just as a program or 2 programs, but really just a partnership and a long-term journey to where we're going to continue to work with the bank and bring the best of what we know from our research and our efforts to them and their issues and their opportunities to help them be more effective as leaders within the bank.
And listening to it from the outside, at least from my perspective, what you're describing is an extremely powerful case study, which communicates to many different settings across. I just want to circle back to one thing, because we are trying to tape. Can we get a definition of intentional change theory, or a quick statement of what that is?
How do we quickly...
I'll try, and then you...
No, sorry.
That's okay. No, that's
it's
okay.
not. It's just we talk about it so much and so much in depth to give you that abbreviated version. So once you start, and then I'll add maybe something else.
We're going through in our minds right now about thousands of pages of research and articles, collapsing into a sentence.
I realized that when I said it.
Yeah, it's okay. No. This is important for us to be able to articulate it. So fundamentally, we know that for adults to change, they need to want to change, meaning it has to be self-directed. We also know that the way that change is experienced is in a series of kind of epiphanies, and that those epiphanies are by and large kind of discontinuous, meaning change doesn't happen in a nice, neat, straight line for us as individuals. Intentional change theory gives us an important and helpful lens to understand how individuals do achieve change that is sustainable, change that is enduring, not just kind of a quick change or an immediate change, so to speak. The way that happens is through 5 different discoveries or epiphanies. It begins with what we call the ideal self, or discovery of the ideal self. It continues to include a discovery of the real self. A third is putting all that together in terms of some sort of learning agenda. The fourth is being able to experience whatever new habits you're desiring, being able to practice those and learn from those. And the fifth and final discovery or stage would be trusting relationships. So being able to develop and maintain a support team, because we know that for change to happen, it's not easy. You're at the level of changing habits often and creating new habits for yourself. And in this case, they're often applied to leadership in the organization, so the stakes are high. And so we encourage folks to don't try to go it alone. develop some sort of support team. So each one of those kind of various components represents a point in time for us as coaches to then work with individuals around a plan and a process and really a whole kind of vision for their own desired change in their work and in their life.
If I could just add to that, and really kind of just succinctly put it in layman's terms, the way we like to sometimes convey it, it's really a theory that really explains, as Ellen was describing, what brings about sustained desired change in individuals. And the sustained is key as well as the desired. Those steps that she was describing can really be thought of simply as, as an individual, who do I want to be and or what do I want to do with my life and career, more broadly speaking? Where am I today relative to that? What's my plan that's going to help me get there? And what's that going to mean that I have to do in the way of experimenting with and practicing some new behaviors? And then finally, who are the people who can help me all along the way in making that happen? It's a very commonsensical approach if you think about it in terms of the logical steps, but it's something that many people don't often take the time to really think through and reflect upon and put in place for themselves.
Yeah, and as Ellen said, it's not a straight line.
Right, exactly.
And it's not predictable.
Right. And from a program design standpoint, what I appreciated about Case helping us is that it wouldn't have been enough just to teach people about emotional intelligence. When you apply the intentional change theory and they really get to look at their own life, then they spend time on their personal vision, they spend time on their values, and then they spend time on getting the feedback from the 360 feedback to see where they are in their real self. And then they get to spend time with the coaches, the internal and external coaching, building that learning agenda and those trusting relationships and putting things into practice. So I feel like not only did we teach them about the theory, but then they got to experience it.
Absolutely crucial piece. Anything else about the program that needs to get said, that you want to say or that you think is helpful?
I think one other thing that takes place when you do something like this at the organizational level, as we're doing, as opposed to just individual level coaching, is there's this added dynamic of the cohort experience that you create. So these individual executives are going through this program in groups of about 25 to 30. And then over time, the top 300 leaders in the bank will have gone through this, as we said. So now all of a sudden they have this group of peers that have the shared language, shared experiences, and they can really serve as peer coaches for one another, if you will. So that's a powerful piece of it as well. So it's not just this experience that you have in isolation with you and your coach. It's this experience that you can share with a number of other executives, either in your particular cohort that went through the program or other people who have gone through the program at other times within a year or two span. So.
It also really drives engagement. I can't tell you the first time Melvin taught mind, body, heart, and spirit at Fifth Third Bank, I thought for sure lightning bolts were going to come through the window at any given time. I just couldn't believe it. And the people said, in the evaluations, they said, I can't believe the bank is invested in me as a human being about this. And that level of engagement, when we talk about power, stress, and renewal, they just can't get over, gosh, I am off-site for 2 days, the top 300 executives, and we're talking about my marriage, my family, my children, my community investment. How cool is that? And that's a level of engagement that I just haven't seen in the 13 years that I've been there, where our executives know, no, this isn't about you or you, this is about you. This is just all about you.
It's amazing, and it's such a powerful example of what can happen when there's buy-in from the top, which it has to be, and great design, and people who just are willing to wake up would be my language.
Well, and I'd like to give Kevin Cabot, our CEO, credit on this, because when I first brought this up to him, he did say, do we have to call it emotional intelligence? Couldn't we call it leadership development? And I said, no, it is emotional intelligence. But during the worst financial crisis in the past 2 to 3 years, when some people weren't investing in this, we said, oh no, this is going to make or break our customer experience, our employee engagement, and our development of our executives for the future, because we're a growth company. So I do think having the executive sponsorship from the top is really critical.
And that's something else I was going to add. Some people often ask the question, how do you make this thing happen at an organizational level? Isn't it difficult? And it can be very difficult and challenging. But what you do need is first of all, an organizational champion, which Loris has been from the start, that really is on fire for this and willing to kind of, take it forward and get the proper buy-in. And then, to the point that she made, you need that top level support and commitment, which has been there Fifth Third as well. So the senior leadership team has to buy into it, and not just buy into it, support it fully, and engage in the process themselves. And when you can do that, it makes it much easier if you can kind of cascade it then through the rest of the organization from the top down. It's much more challenging if you don't have that internal organizational champion and or if you don't have that buy-in at the top.
Well, and I've seen some others, similar but different situations, where unless the people at the top are not only supportive but actively engaged
And
as
doing
you just
it.
said,
Exactly.
and actually doing it,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it just doesn't.
When you looked around the room and you saw our CFO, our Chief Risk Officer, our Head of Audit in the class, and then our CEO kicking it off and our COO, people are saying, wow, there's executive sponsorship. I will tell you one other thing though, every good organization champion also has to listen to their experts. And one of the things that Case Western said to us was, you know, we can develop a wonderful workshop with you, but do the coaching. The coaching is what makes every single thing come alive because it's personal and it's practice. And so the art of, I think, a good partnership is listening, getting to know each other's strengths and weaknesses and what we bring to the table.
And that's often tough because clients will sometimes say, coaching is great, but that's expensive. And it is. If you think about the investment that you have to make for that one-on-one coaching for that many individuals, it's an investment. But we did believe very strongly that it was a key element, and Loris agreed. And I think now, in hindsight, says there would have been no other way to do it effectively.
Yeah.
Well, and as we were talking before, it is setting something up that then filters down through your company. Because you've got that model of coaching that those people who were coached have learned and can then replicate.
And that brings to light another distinguishing factor, I believe, that sets this apart for all of us who are involved with it, and that is there's a real commitment to the fact that this is a journey. So you've heard us describe words like, you know, our close partnership, and we're working closely together, and we really have gotten to know each other and our strengths and our weaknesses. That's between Fifth Third and the internal champions of this, and also those of us who are fortunate enough to be involved in such a really amazing initiative. But it wouldn't go anywhere if there wasn't an understanding and a willingness to be in it for the long haul, because we know that change doesn't happen overnight. We have to invest in the growth of the organization. Individuals have to invest in themselves and their own growth. Managers have to believe that their direct reports can grow and change, and so on and so on. And when all of that kind of works together and connects, it can be powerful. So the future is very bright, we feel, for Fifth Third, and we're just excited to be a part of it.
It's fabulous. And the last bit that just occurred to me is you said, Loris, that it was really important for you at the bank to listen to your experts.
Yes.
I'm going to bet that it was equally important for your experts to listen to you. And there's your partnership, because it's running in both directions.
Yeah, all you're right. I mean, as Ellen said earlier in one of her statements, we really became students of their business. So we went into this definitely with an open mind, learning as much as we could about their culture, their specific needs, their opportunities, because we didn't just want to bring all the answers, you know, in a standard fashion. We really wanted to see, you know, how can we best tailor what we do to what you most need. So it really has been a two-way partnership.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again.